Hi, my topic is legalizing prostitution, and this is my second debate video. I had the con side of this debate, and my name is Allison Wheeler. My resolution for this topic of legalizing prostitution is that after looking at both sides, my partner and I decided that the best resolution for everyone would be to legalize prostitution, but to limit what they can and cannot do. So that way it is more of a controlled environment and it is safer for everyone that way. There's less likely to have substance abuse and STIs, and it's more of a controlled environment. That way both parties are safe and secure, and that way everyone is better just for everyone. Sexually transmitted infections are one thing that played a big part in my debate. And on my side, it's one thing that I feel is really serious in the prostitution world now, with it being not legal. Rates of STIs are increasing. I feel like if this were to be legal, the only way to help the stop of this would be mandatory STI checks that are weekly. My only concern with that would be is the cost of the test. You have X amount of workers, and that means X amount of tests for 52 weeks, a year. That's going to rack up, and who would be responsible for paying for that? Would it come out of tax money? If so, you're going to have people mad because that's their tax money is going towards this, and they might not agree with it. There's just a lot of gray area with the concerns of the cost of that. But I feel the only way to make that not as much of a concern, if legal, would be to check them every week. The only problem with that would be the cost, like I said. Another thing would be mandatory condom use. And I mean, this would be a job, so that would be a part of your job. And if you didn't do that job, you wouldn't be performing your job to the best of the ability, and you could be fired for the non-usage of it. I think that would really help bring in the seriousness of needing to use them. And I think that would really make people aware that they need to use them. And I think that would help bring down the rates of infections that are being transmitted. And overall, I think the only way you're going to stop STIs is to get rid of the ones who have them. So if you have a STI check and a worker tests positive, then that worker should not be a worker anymore. They would be fired for having one. Another thing about this would be crime. My partner said in her side of the debate that prostitution isn't a crime because it is the person basically selling themselves, so they aren't really breaking the law. To me, yeah, prostitution isn't really a crime, but the things that prostitutes do are. So like now that when it's not legal, there is increasing rates of sex trafficking, which is where you're forced to do sexual acts, substance abuse, alcohol, drugs. A lot of that is an important factor when you have those kind of influences in a situation like this. Bad things are always going to happen, whether it be no use of protection or rape. I mean, I know this is your job, but still, that could happen. I think there's a lot of crime that goes along with prostitution. So I think if it was legal and regulated, that the only way to reduce the crime would be to regulate and monitor prostitution, meaning having sign-ins with the customers, knowing who the person has been with on a day-to-day basis, keeping logs, and just monitoring what all goes down. I mean, this is a business, so you need to know what goes in it and what comes out of it. So I think the only really way to bring down the number of crimes involved with prostitution would be to monitor the situations. My last topic for my resolution would be pregnancy. I talked about this in my original debate video, and how I had a lot of uncertainties, and I listed some of them here with it not being legal. There's a lot of moral questions, like who would be responsible? Is it just the mom, or is the dad responsible too? Should the father be aware of the situation? How would you even know who the father is? I mean, you're having sexual relations on a day-to-day basis. That's a lot of multiple partners you're having. It would be hard to know exactly who the father is. I think the only real way to help this would be, if it was legal and regulated, to have the customer sign an agreement form saying that in the case of a pregnancy would result, it is the mother's choice, and that they could check a box if they want to be contacted. And when I say it's the mother's choice, I mean for abortion or adoption or to keep the child, perhaps. And then if the father checks the box, he would be contacted for any thing his actions have been taken place. Or if they don't check the box, they do not want to be contacted, then it is strictly the mother's choice what she wants to do. But that meaning they check the box, they in a sense sign the rights away when they sign the box. This topic was a really fun topic to dive into. I really got to see both sides. And as I said earlier, I really do agree that I think if this was legal and regulated, it could be a good job for the person who's wanting to work it. Not me personally, but I think some people could benefit from this if it was regulated and legal. Right now it's not, but I mean, you never know what the future holds.